Great, good morning. So here we are again for our Saturday morning practice. I would like to do some twists and core work today, which I actually can't do myself because I'm too pregnant. So Chelsea is going to be your visual cue, and I'm just going to sit here and talk and drink my tea and enjoy life. And I've been kind of enjoying actually being able to do the practice myself as I teach, because as I get more and more pregnant and mama brain kicks in, it's easier to be mindful of where left and right are while I'm actually doing things. So I'm probably going to make a glorious mess of left and right this morning, but that's where we're at. So the reason I'd like to do some core work and some focus on the center body is that it's the area of the body that we say is related to the third chakra, which is where we process emotions related to power and control. And I think right now maybe that's something that we all need to connect to. It feels like a situation where so much of what we used to be able to fit into our own little circle of influence is now out of our circle of influence. And so what we feel like we can control is such a tiny little thing. But your body and your emotional state in your body is always something that you have a huge influence over. And so maybe just connecting to this feeling of where your own inner power is helpful this morning. So we'll start lying on the back. So you can just find a comfortable way to come down onto your back. You could have your legs straight, or if that doesn't feel great for your low back, you could choose instead to place the soles of the feet to the floor and let the knees soften in towards each other. And maybe for this beginning, we'll actually place the hands on the low belly. And I'd like you to be less close to the area of the navel and more interested in the area that's sort of in the lowest part of your pelvis. So you might even feel that the tips of your fingers rest on the pubic bone, and the heels of your hands rest kind of on the front hip points. Maybe our first effort is to simply collect sensation in that area. Start to feel how you are in that lowest area of your belly. And what you might discover actually is that there's more hardness or gripping than you expected. So our first effort is actually to soften and let go in that space. And as we let the muscles that kind of sit in the bowl of the pelvis relax, we can also start to travel with that softness into the rest of the abdomen. You can feel the area around the navel, the area just behind your navel get a little bit softer. The upper abdomen, the space around your diaphragm becomes more relaxed. And therefore, perhaps the breath becomes more easeful. So just take a few moments here to focus in on your breathing. You notice how the breath moves in the space of the lungs. There's this broadening quality across the chest as you breathe in. Let the shoulders and the ribs can settle as you breathe out. As you become more attuned to your breathing, then we can specifically notice the relationship between the breath and the core. So you can feel that broadening quality in the lungs has an influence on the space of the belly, even that deeper part of your pelvis. And as we exhale and empty the lungs, again, we feel the influence of that emptying in the low belly, in the area around the navel. We might begin to enhance that pattern that naturally exists, so that as you inhale, you look for more of a widening, broadening space in the belly. And as you exhale, you actively draw towards your own center. And we can notice here that this doesn't have to be a shortening of the belly. It doesn't have to be a hard gripping feeling. What we want to just experience is that the the energy of the body is hugging towards the midline. So maybe what you feel is that you're trying to draw your front hip points towards each other. They won't actually move, but that helps us to access those deepest muscles in the abdomen, which stabilize and center the body. So each inhale allows us to become more expansive, more buoyant. And then as we exhale, we're still finding that softening around the edges, heaviness in the body, and at the same time, stability and centering. I'll just take a few more breaths here. Ujjayi breath, if that's part of your practice. Finding breath along the back of your throat. Some sound to your breathing. And then we can slowly draw the knees into the chest and take your hands or your arms around your shins. You might rock a little bit side to side here, so just gently massaging your back against the floor. Okay. And then you can bring your arms out about shoulder height and set yourself up so that you really have space to stretch your arms out wide so they're really in line with your shoulders. And then turn your palms to face down towards the floor. So see if you can root the palms and the backs of your shoulders firmly into your mat. And then we'll bring the knees to a 90-degree bend. So we're going to set the knees up exactly over the hips and then bring the heels to align with your knees. You can see if you can really squeeze the inner thighs together so the knees are touching as much as possible. So the legs feel kind of like just one piece rather than two pieces. And then we'll keep the shoulder blades glued to the floor. As you exhale, slowly ease your knees over towards the left. Chelsea, you can lift your heels as high as your knees. Yeah. All the way. 90-degree bend. Good. And then we'll inhale to come back towards center. And then exhale all the way over towards the right, keeping that left shoulder glued towards the floor. So inhaling to come back to center. Again, see if you can keep your knees together. Exhale, easing over towards the left without letting that right shoulder lift. Inhale to come back towards center. Exhaling over to the right, keeping your left shoulder glued to the floor, the knees squeezing towards each other. Inhale back to center. Go a few more times with your own smooth breath. Make it intentional, so we're not just using momentum to swing side to side, but really feeling that effort in the core that allows us to control the movement, keeping the shoulder blades glued to the floor at all times, and just feeling how the hips turn from side to side independently of your shoulders. And as much as possible, those inner thighs touching. If you really have trouble with it and you happen to have a block in your home, then maybe a block is helpful in order to keep the thighs squeezing together, or even like a pair of socks rolled up, just something between your thighs to keep a little bit of intention to holding that midline. After the next time that you've gone over to the right, you can come back to center on an inhale, and then exhale the knees into the chest, taking your hands or your arms around your shins, and again, just letting yourself be a little bit softer here, relaxing the belly, maybe rocking side to side. Good. And now we'll take the legs straight up towards the ceiling. So you're reaching up through your heels. You can bring your hands down by your sides, and you might bring them in really close to your sides. You might even set your hands slightly under your body with the palms facing down. So if you feel any sensation of discomfort in your low back in the next range of movement, please set your hands closer in underneath you so that you have more support. Good. We'll keep the shoulders and the face as relaxed as possible here. Find that sense of breathing up the back of your legs. As you exhale, let the thigh bones settle heavily into your hip socket so that the connection between the leg and the hip is clear. And another inhale to breathe up through the back line of your legs. So we're getting them up as straight as possible. Now as you exhale, let your right leg lower towards the floor, just as far as you're able without touching the floor, keeping that left leg reaching up. And then we're gonna hover here. So we're stretching up through the ball of the left foot, reaching forward through the ball of the right foot. Find some sense of magnetism between the inner lines of the thighs. So your legs are like scissors. Even though they're split apart, they still hug the same center line. I'm finding, especially as you're exhaling, that drawing in through the low belly that helps you to hover the leg in space. At the same time, see if you can remember to keep your shoulders and your face relaxed. And then we'll inhale to bring that right leg all the way back up. And now exhale to lower the left leg as close to the floor as you're able without touching the floor. Seeing if you can stretch long through both legs, especially as you're inhaling. And then exhaling to feel that gathering in of the lowest part of your belly to hold the legs in space. And the inner lines of your legs active, even though they're not touching. The shoulders relaxed, the face relaxed. And then we'll inhale to take the left leg back up. Good. Exhale just to bring your knees back into your chest for a moment. We'll find softening in the belly. So as much as we want to know how to turn those muscles on, we also want to know how to let go. And those moments in between where we simply find a smooth, melty softness. Great, and then we'll take the legs back up towards the ceiling. So just again, as straight as you're able, legs reaching up tall, arms in by your sides, again, as close as you need them to be. Maybe you're even kind of sitting on the backs of your hands. Good. Now we'll move into a little bit more of a dynamic variation of that exercise. So as you're exhaling, we're gonna go lower the right leg and then see if you can reach your right foot more towards the left top corner of your mat. So right leg moving over towards the left. And then we'll inhale that leg all the way back up. Exhale the left leg down and see if you can reach it over towards the right corner of your mat. Inhaling up towards the ceiling. Exhaling the right leg down and over towards the left. Inhaling to come back up. Exhale, left leg down and over towards the right. Inhale to come back up. Do a few more rounds, your own breath. Again, make it as smooth and as intentional as possible. So not just flailing your legs around in space, but seeing rather if you can really feel how the core supports the legs as they move so that the shoulders and the face are able to maintain their softness. So it feels like a challenge maybe, but it doesn't feel like the whole body needs to grip in order to make sense of this shape. Your breath should still be relaxed and slow and full. The next time that you bring that left leg down and over to the right corner of your mat, we'll inhale back up to center, and then you can exhale again to bring the knees into the chest. Let the belly melt. Let your shoulders and your face be soft. And maybe a little bit of a rocking side to side. Great, and then we'll bring the hands around the backs of the thighs. And you can just slowly start to rock back and forth along your spine. So back towards your shoulders and then forward towards your hips. And do that a few times. Eventually rocking yourself right up to a seat. And we'll sit up nice and tall on the front edge of the sits bones. Bring your feet in front of you. Place the soles of the feet to the floor and set the feet out wide, maybe like mat width apart. And then you can bring your fingertips behind you. Tip your weight forward onto the front edge of your sits bones. So see if you can really lengthen up through your low spine. Keeping that length in your belly and your low back. We'll start to bring the feet a little bit closer in. Maybe the feet come to touch. Take your hands around the backs of your thighs. Leaning back without losing that long shape in your spine. You can slowly start to lift your heels away from the floor. So coming into a boat pose. See if you can bring your heels as high as your knees, if you're able. And again, really squeezing through the center line of the leg so that you know where your middle is. You can hang your body around that sense of the center line. Keep lifting up through the ribs. If you feel comfortable here, you might reach your arms forward, continuing to let the shoulders soften away from your ears. If you really want to go for it, you might even straighten the legs. I never do that, but it's possible. And seeing as we inhale, if we can get up taller through the chest, feel the lift in the heels. As you exhale, collect towards that midline. So the inner thighs drawing in, the belly hugging in, all of that giving you support for more lift as you inhale, more buoyancy, more lightness. And then we'll exhale to bring the feet to the floor and cross your ankles, rolling over your feet, coming to all fours. We'll set the knees under the hips, the wrists under the shoulders. Taking a moment to carefully place your hands, make sure the fingers are spread comfortably wide apart. There's weight towards the inner edge of the hand. We're spilling weight into the fingertips. And then from here, moving through a few rounds of cat and cow. So as you're inhaling, you're getting long through the belly, lifting the sits bones, lifting the chest. Exhaling to curl back in towards your center. Again, finding that hug in through the low belly. Inhale to stretch long, seeing if you can reach your ribs forward of your hips. Exhaling to round. Keep going with your own smooth breath. On the one hand, as we inhale, really feeling a stretching out quality of the front body. So some of those muscles that we've been engaging can get a little bit more space. However, the inhale is not a complete letting go of all of the core. So we feel as we exhale this curling in, all of the muscles of the abdomen can be active. As you inhale, you want to stretch the top layer of your belly, but feel that the deeper layers are still helping you to bring your ribs and your hips away from each other. So the deeper layers of the core help us to find more length in the mid-body, more space between the hips and the ribs. Or they help us to define the relationship between the hips and the ribs. With your next inhale, you can come back to a neutral shape in the spine. And then pressing down through your left hand. With your next inhale, reach your right arm up towards the ceiling. So you're opening your chest up wide, all the way up towards the ceiling. Good. As you exhale, you can thread your right arm under your left, settling down towards your right shoulder. And we'll inhale to reach the right arm up and open, spreading the chest out wide. Exhale, right arm under left, settling down. And again, inhaling to reach your right arm up and open, spread the chest wide. Exhale, right under left, sinking down towards your right shoulder. Let the shoulder and the head come heavily towards the floor. Roll your left shoulder away from your left ear to create some space around the neck. From here, you might reach your left arm up towards the ceiling. You might bend the left elbow and bring the left hand behind the back to tuck it into your right hip crease or whatever it is that you can find on the right side. We'll just take a few breaths here wherever you've landed, seeing if you can send that left hip back so the left side waist stays long. Breathing into the space of your left side waist. As you're exhaling, drawing in through the low belly, seeing if that allows you to explore a little bit more of the sensation of the twist. So your ribs just gently turning away from your hips. Super small movement, not anything that anybody has to see. Maybe you're alone at home and nobody's going to see anything anyway. But feeling that change as you exhale. A little bit of a shift of the ribs turning away from the hips. If you have your hand behind your back, with your next inhale, reaching your left arm back up towards the ceiling. Exhale the left hand to the floor. Inhale the right arm reaching up towards the ceiling, opening the chest wide. Keep that right arm reaching up as tall as you can, and then hugging in through the belly. Carefully step your right foot towards the back of your mat, so stepping the right foot behind the left. Root the sole of your right foot to the floor. So the heel, the outer edge of the foot pressing into the mat. If you need a little bit more support for the balance here, you could let that lower left leg swing back a little bit behind you. Good. And then we'll reach the right arm forward alongside the right ear. Stretch through the right side body. Feel how your breath reaches into the space between your ribs. Maybe you can find, again, as you exhale, that hugging in through the low belly. And see if that allows you to explore, again, a different relationship between your hips and your ribs so that you're able to roll your right side ribs open a little bit more, turning your heart up towards the light. And then we'll exhale to bring the right hand back down to the floor, tuck your right toes under, inhaling to step back to plank. Taking a moment here in plank, leaning your weight as far forward as you're able. So maybe your shoulders are over your wrist, maybe your shoulders are even forward of your wrist, really puffing up that space of your upper back. Find a little bit of a rounding in your spine so that you can access all of the muscles of your core. So there's a shortening in the belly here, the front ribs, the pubic bone draw towards each other just to give us a little bit more support from the belly. And then pressing down through your hands, lifting through the inner lines of your legs, inflate the whole thing with a little bit more breath. As you exhale, finding your way down onto your belly. You can bring your knees down first or lower one straight line. Landing on your belly, tops of the feet root. Inhale to come into a cobra, reaching your ribs forward. Exhale to settle your chest back down. We'll do that twice more. Inhaling to come into a cobra, ribs reaching forward. Exhale, softening back down. And one more time, inhaling to lengthen into a cobra, reaching your ribs forward. And exhaling to settle back down. Tucking your toes under, hugging in through your low belly. See first here if you can lift your pubic bone just a tiny bit away from the floor. You can feel like maybe a flat hands width underneath of your pubic bone. And then thinking really about how your hips and your ribs are connected. So we might keep the knees on the floor, but as we press down through the hands and inhale, we want to see if we can lift the hips and the ribs at the same time, like they are one piece, or the torso is one piece. Eventually straightening your legs so that you're coming up to plank. And then exhaling to pick your hips up and back, coming into downward dog. And just take a few moments to get comfy in this first downward dog, bending the knees, rocking the hips, whatever you enjoy. Seeing again if you can feel how your weight is evenly distributed across the whole surface area of your hand. So inner edge of the hand connected to the mat, the fingerprints connected to the mat, the shoulder blades wide on your back, the hips lifting away from your ribs. So again, that deeper core strength gives you the opportunity to stretch your center body out more as you press your hips up away from your ribs. And then we'll exhale to bring the knees back down to the floor. Again, arriving at all fours, knees under your hips, wrists under your shoulders. Keeping the right hand firmly rooted with your next inhale, reaching your left arm up towards the ceiling, opening the chest up wide. And then exhaling to thread the left arm under the right, settling down. Good. Inhale again to reach that left arm up. You might even follow the gaze up towards your left thumb. Exhale, left arm under the right, settling down. Again, inhaling to reach your left arm up, spreading wide out through both of your arms. And then exhaling to bring the left arm under the right, and then settling the left shoulder, the head towards the floor. Roll your right shoulder away from your right ear. And then you maybe are reaching the right arm up towards the ceiling, maybe bending that right elbow and bringing the right hand behind your back. And just taking a few steady breaths here and continuing to notice how the breath might guide you into a different experience of this twist. So not necessarily that the outer form has to change, but rather that our internal landscape is different each time we breathe. Maybe we feel more of a kind of wringing out of the center body. Maybe we simply feel more how the breath and the center body are connected. Inhale to reach that right arm back up towards the ceiling. Exhale, the right hand comes down towards the floor. Pressing down through your right hand. Inhale, reach your left arm up to the ceiling. And then again, really keep reaching up through that left hand, hugging through the belly. Without dropping your left hand, see if you can take a careful step back with your left foot so that we land in this side plank variation. Again, if you need a little bit more support from the right leg, you can let that lower half of the leg just swing out behind you. Rooting through the left outer edge of the foot, the left heel, and reaching your left arm forward alongside your left ear to stretch away from that root, breathing into the space of your left side body. And then see here if you can find that subtle sensation of the twist. As you exhale, the belly draws in, and perhaps that gives you the opportunity to turn your ribs a little bit more towards the ceiling. The left side ribs rolling open. And then we'll exhale to pour that left hand back down to the floor, tuck your left toes under. Inhaling to step back to plank. Just take a moment again to find a really solid experience of your plank. Notice how all of the muscles of the belly might engage to hold the shape of the torso, legs active to give the lower half of the body more lift, breath inflating the whole thing. And then as you exhale, finding your way down, maybe all the way, maybe just to chaturanga. We'll inhale to cobra or upward dog. And then exhale to take your hips up and back, moving into downward dog. So beginning to build your own vinyasa. Once you've arrived in downward dog, you step your feet maybe just a little bit wider apart, maybe kind of towards the outer edges of your mat. And then really firmly rooting down through your right hand. See if you can press that right hand forward and down into the floor. And then slowly creep your left hand back towards your right foot and see if you can take hold of the outer edge of your leg or your foot. And then you can start to open your chest towards the right. So that right hand pressing forward and down, the hips reaching up high, We see if you can turn the chest, maybe kind of tuck your head in under that right arm to find the twist in this shape. Good, and then we'll change sides. You can bring your left hand back to the floor. Take a moment to really firmly root that left hand, so pressing it forward and down, and then creeping your right fingers back, seeing if you can reach for the outer edge of your left leg or your left foot. And as you do that, turning your chest towards the left, maybe tucking your head under that left arm. And then again, bringing that left hand back forward, or right hand, whatever it is, towards the top of your mat. Good. And then from here, we'll walk the feet forward towards the hands, arriving at a comfortable forward fold. Good. Inhale to come about halfway up, reaching your ribs forward. Exhale to empty and sink back down. Good. Inhale again, halfway up, the ribs reaching forward. Exhale, empty the belly, folding back down. And then once more, inhaling to come halfway up, the ribs forward. Exhale to settle back into your fold and letting your head spill off the end of your body. Maybe for a moment here, bringing your hands to your opposite elbows and just letting everything dangle. Enough bend in the knees so that there's not too much pull in the backs of the legs. No sense of tug in the spine, so the low back can relax, the mid back, the upper back soft, especially soft with that part of your spine that makes up the back of your neck. And then letting your hands drop back towards the floor. Keep the knees at least a little bit bent. We'll slowly start to roll up towards standing. So it's coming up bone by bone. Arms, head nice and heavy. Arriving at a tall stance, press down through the feet. Reach your tailbone towards your heels. Scoop the belly in. Lift your ribs. Spread your shoulders out wide. And with your next inhale, you can reach your arms up alongside your ears. Big, tall stretch. Exhale, folding forward, bringing your hands towards the floor. Inhaling to come halfway up, reaching the ribs forward. Exhale to empty and sink back down. Pressing into the feet, inhale, find a half lift, and then keep coming up. Reach your arms all the way up to the ceiling, tall stretch. Exhaling the hands to the center of the chest. Good, we'll inhale to reach the arms up tall, nice full stretch. Exhale, folding forward, bringing your hands towards the floor. Inhale to come halfway up, reaching your ribs forward. This time, stay here. See if you can reach your hands now alongside your hips. You're stretching back through your fingertips. And finding length up the backs of your legs. Press back through your inner thighs to spread your sits bones wide. And then hug in through the belly and see if you can guide your heart forward away from your hips. So again, using that sense of integrity in the core to really create more space between your hips and your ribs. Your back muscles, of course, are also here helping you to stay lifted so that your heart is as high as your hips. Good, and then we'll exhale to fold back down. Let the hands drop heavy towards the floor. Pressing into the feet, inhale, find that half lift shape, and then keep coming up. Arms reach all the way up to the ceiling. Exhaling the hands to the center of the chest. Inhale to reach your arms back up. Exhale, folding forward, bring the hands towards the floor. Inhale to come halfway up, this time reaching your arms out to the sides like little airplane wings or big airplane wings. Why do they need to be little? And seeing if you can again send the inner thighs back and apart, spread the sits bones wide, draw in through the belly to find that core strength that helps you to take your ribs forward so you can get longer, and then spread all the way out to the tips of those wings. Maybe a little bit more strength in the back to keep the ribs lifted as high as your hips. And then we'll exhale to fold back down. Let the head be heavy, let the arms be heavy. Pressing into the feet, inhale, nice long spine, coming all the way up, reaching for the ceiling. And then exhaling the hands to the center of the chest. Good, we'll inhale to reach the arms up tall. Exhale, folding forward, bring the hands towards the floor. Inhale, come halfway up. Now reaching your arms forward alongside your ears. And seeing if you can stretch out as long as possible through your center body. So pressing back through the inner thighs, spreading wide through the sits bones, drawing in through the belly. Take the ribs farther forward. Reach your arms farther forward. Good. And then exhale to fold back down. Pressing into the feet, inhale all the way up, arms to the ceiling, good full stretch. Exhaling the hands to the center of the chest. And we'll bend the knees, sit the hips low, inhaling to reach your arms up along your ears. Exhaling to fold forward, bringing your hands towards the floor. Inhale, halfway up, reaching the ribs forward. Exhale, stepping your right foot back. Good. We'll inhale to reach the ribs forward. And then exhale to take your left arm up towards the ceiling, opening your chest up wide. And take a moment here and see if you can keep your hips truly square. So look for some lift in that right hip, maybe some softening in your left hip, reaching your ribs forward as you're inhaling, gathering in through the belly as you're exhaling without changing your hips. See if you can peel your left side ribs away from your left thighs. You're stacking the ribs, rolling that left side body open. Keep reaching straight up through your left fingers, like you want to tickle the sky beyond whatever roof you have above you. And then still see if you can lean your left shoulder a little bit more softly back without changing the direction of that reach. Good. We'll exhale to bring the left hand back down. Keep your left foot where it is and just slowly start to straighten out your left leg. We can come up high onto the ball of the right foot, so lift your right heel away from the floor. You might come up onto your fingertips here. Again, you might improvise with blocks or whatever you have handy to give your arms a little bit more length. And seeing if you can get the left leg as straight as possible. It doesn't have to be exactly straight. Scissoring the inner thighs towards each other, so feeling in that connection towards the midline, even though the legs aren't touching. Keep sending your hips up higher, and then see if you can reach your ribs forwards, again, using that deeper sense of strength in your core to stretch out the center body. With all of that length, maybe you can melt a little bit more over your left leg, so not too much roundness in the back. See if you can stretch your heart towards your left big toe. And then we'll bend the left knee. Bringing your hands flat to the floor, pressing down through the hands. Pick up your left foot as quietly as you're able, stepping back to plank, and finding again your own path to downward dog. And we'll inhale to reach the right leg up and back. Exhale, drawing the knee towards your upper left arm. See if you can kind of tuck it in towards your armpit. Keep the hips high and squeeze the thigh towards you. Inhale to reach up and back. Exhale to hug the knee into the center of the chest, stepping your foot carefully towards your hands. We'll inhale to reach the ribs forward. Exhaling to take your right arm up towards the ceiling, opening the chest up wide. And making sure the hips are truly square. So seeing if you can look for lift in your left hip and softness in the right hip. More reach forward through the ribs as you inhale. And then that rolling quality as you exhale. Belly draws in, the ribs turning away from your right thigh. And stretching straight up through that right hand, but maybe letting the right shoulder soften a little bit back. And then exhaling to place your right hand back down towards your mat. Keep the right foot where it is and just slowly begin to straighten your right leg. Again, as much as you're able is good enough. Lifting your left heel high away from the mat, hugging through the inner lines of your thighs. Seeing if you can actually travel that path up through the inner lines of the thighs as they become active that leads you to your pelvic floor. And if we feel the hug in the pelvic floor, then maybe we're more able to give buoyancy to the hips, to lift the hips higher away from the earth. As the hips are reaching up and back, stretching your heart forward, get long through your torso. With all of that length, see if you can melt a little bit more over your right thigh. And then we'll bend the right knee, stepping your left foot forward to meet the right. Inhale, halfway up, long spine. Exhale, soften and fold back down. Bending the knees, sit the hips low. Inhale to reach up through the arms, Utkatasana, nice low seat. And then as you exhale, standing up tall, bringing your hands back to the center of your chest. Good. We'll move now into a shape which is called diver's pose, and I haven't taught it that often, so I don't even know if anybody knows it yet, but we're gonna come up onto the balls of the feet, so lifting your heels really, really high. See if you can zip up the inner seam of your legs to really feel that the inner lines of your legs are connected, and then we're just gonna tip the torso forward, so you're bending kind of like 90 degrees at the hip if you're able, reaching your fingertips back by your hips. So see if you can keep your heels lifted really high, and then send your heart forward, like you really are just teetering on the edge, about to dive into the water. And I really like this pose right now. I was thinking like the last few weeks, I just need to do grounding hip stuff. But actually I've realized what I need, what maybe we all need, is to get comfortable in this unknown, about to fall over, where are we going shape. Can you breathe here and make it feel exciting and light? Good. And then we'll settle the heels, bend the knees, sit the hips low, sweep your arms up alongside your ears, coming into chair pose again. Good. Which actually, chair pose is a false translation as we sit here and gather towards center. The pose is called Utkatasana, which translates as fierce pose. You can keep your face soft, but find at your center that fierceness of power that belongs only to you. Good, then we'll exhale to fold, legs straightening as you bring your hands towards the floor. Inhale, halfway up, reach the ribs forward. Exhale, softening, stepping your left foot back. This time we'll inhale to come up to a high lunge, arms reaching up alongside your ears. And then exhaling to bring your hands to the center of the chest. We'll reach the heart forward, beginning to twist, taking your left elbow towards the outside of your right leg, or whatever connection you can reach there. Good. And then again, seeing if you can find a sense of squareness in the hip, so that left hip intentionally lifting, reaching your ribs farther forward as you inhale, drawing in through the belly, pressing your hands together as you exhale, turning your heart up towards your thumbs. Keep that squeeze through the inner lines of the legs to hold this shape steady. Again, you have to know where your middle is in order to find balance. So we're still really hugging the center line of the legs, slowly turning back towards the front of your mat. And then we'll inhale to reach the arms up alongside the ears, so coming back to your high lunge. Exhale the hands to the floor, pressing down through the hands, using your core to pick up your right foot, quietly stepping back to plank, your own path to downward dog. And then inhaling to reach your left leg up and back. Good. Exhale to draw your left knee towards your right armpit. See if you can tuck it in right up to the upper arm. Keep your hips high. Good. Inhale to reach the leg up and back. Exhale, draw the knee to the center of the chest, stepping the foot forward towards your hands. Inhale to your high lunge, the arms reaching up tall. Already here, you might look for that hug through the inner lines of the legs to hold integrity in the shape. Exhale your hands to the center of your chest, beginning to twist to the left, and your right elbow connecting to your left leg. See if you can again press up through the back of your right thigh to keep the hips square. Draw your heart farther forward each time you inhale. Use your exhale to find that gathering in of your low belly, which turns your ribs more towards the left, palms pressing together, the heart turning towards your thumbs. And keep your shoulders away from your ears so there's a spacious quality around your neck. And then still holding that center line through the legs as strongly as you're able, turning your chest back towards the front of the room. We'll inhale to reach the arms up alongside the ears. Exhale the hands to the floor, stepping your right foot forward to meet the left. Inhale halfway up, reaching your ribs forward. Exhaling to settle back down. Pressing into the feet, inhale all the way up, the arms reaching for the ceiling, tall stretch. And exhaling the hands to the center of the chest. And again, lifting up onto the balls of your feet, get your heels high. See if you can zip up that seam of the center line of the legs. You might even step your feet closer together if that's helpful. And then tipping your whole torso forward, so you're just hinging at your hips, reaching your hands back by your hips. See if you can bring your torso parallel to the floor. Stay high up on the balls of the feet. Press back through your inner thighs. Reach your heart farther forward, almost falling, maybe even falling, and then finding your way back in. Good. And then we'll settle the heels, bend the knees, sit the hips low, fierce pose, arms reaching up alongside your ears. Again, feeling that hug through the whole center line of your body. So inner thighs drawing in, belly hugging in, lifting the ribs. Good. We'll exhale to bring the hands to the center of the chest and then turning to the right. So your left elbow towards your outer right thigh. Keep the hips sitting low, reaching your heart up away from your hips. So see if you can keep your heart higher than your hips. And then shifting your weight here into your right foot. You start to peel your left foot away from your mat. Take a big step back with your left foot. So we're landing in a twisted lunge. Other way, Chelsea. Don't look at Chelsea. She's making it more confusing than it needs to be. Left foot stepping back. Yeah. Good. And then seeing if we can find again that hug through the center line of the legs, pressing up through the back of your left thigh, reaching your heart forward, turning a little bit more into the twist. Good. I'm going to slowly unwind as you exhale. Inhale to reach the arms up tall. And now exhaling to settle into warrior two, bringing your left heel to the floor, adjusting your feet as you need to so that you can get a wide space across the front of your hips here. Sitting the hips nice and low. And then we'll straighten the right leg. Inhale to reach your right arm as far forward as you're able. Exhaling to bring the right arm down, the left arm up. Sending your hips back, reaching your ribs forward. And using, again, the sense of your breath to sculpt the shape of your torso. So the inhales give us length in the sides of the waist, length in the belly, space in the heart. The exhales allow us to feel, again, that natural hugging in of the low belly, which gives us access to more twist, so that, again, we can roll the left side ribs open. We tend to think of a lot of our standing poses as kind of neutral spine shapes, but so many of them are secretly opportunities to find that little more ringing out of your center. Just a little bit of a twist experience. Good, we'll press down through the feet. Inhale to come back up. Exhale, bending your right knee, warrior two. Good. Inhale, reverse warrior, the right arm sweeping back. Exhale, windmill the hands to the floor. Tucking your left toes under, press the mat away from you. Again, really take some care in stepping back to plank so that it's quiet and light. And then moving with your own breath, your path to downward dog, which could just be straight to downward dog or through whatever vinyasa you like. Moving, please, with the guidance of your own breathing. And we'll inhale to reach the right leg up and back. Exhale to draw your right knee towards your upper left arm, right into the armpit. And now we're going to thread that right leg over to the left. So you're setting the outer edge of your foot towards the floor. Set it away. Good. And then reaching your left arm up to the ceiling. So you can drop to the inner edge of your right foot as you roll your heart open. So outer edge of your, I'm on the wrong side. Outer edge of your right foot rooted, inner edge of your left foot rooted. Chelsea is doing the right thing if you need a little bit of a visual. Lifting your hips up nice and high. And then see if you can reach that left arm forward alongside your left ear, stretching out through your left side ribs. Good. And then we'll exhale to bring the left hand back down to the floor. Tuck your left toes under. Hug the right knee back in towards the center of your chest and step your right foot forward towards your hands. Good. We'll bring the left foot flat to the floor. Inhale to come up to warrior one. Arms reaching up alongside your ears. Good. And then exhaling to shift weight into your right foot, moving into warrior three. So you're leaning into the big toe mound of your right foot, picking up the inner line of your left leg, stretch back through the ball of your left foot, reach forward through the center of your chest. Good. Find some softness in your right knee. We're going to come up towards standing here, picking your left knee up into your chest, and then wrapping your left thigh over your right, so we can move towards an eagle pose. So you might tuck that right foot around behind the left foot around behind the right calf if that's available to you. Sit the hips a little bit lower, bring the arms forward, and then crossing, your right arm over your left. You can bend your elbows, either backs of your hands together or palms together or hands to your shoulders. And seeing again if you can find that hugging in towards your own center line. So the inner thighs squeeze together like a nutcracker and hugging in through the belly so the center of the torso is steady. Maybe you can lift your elbows a little bit away from your chest. Maybe you can sit a little bit deeper. Good. And then we'll slowly unwind and you can just stand up tall, set your feet side by side, bring your hands back to the center of your chest. Coming up onto the balls of your feet, lifting your hips up high, tipping your heart forward, bringing your torso parallel to the floor, arms reaching back alongside your hips. So again, this diver's pose, ready to take that plunge. And then settling your heels, sinking your hips low, Utkatasana, arms reaching up alongside your ears, fierce pose. Exhaling the hands to the center of the chest, turning to the left, so your right elbow towards your left thigh. Keep the hips sitting low. Make sure your hips are truly square. So you might just take a look at your knees and check that they're exactly parallel. Right hip maybe intentionally drawing back. keeping your heart lifted, turning your heart up towards your thumbs. And then pressing firmly down through your left foot. See if you can peel your right foot slowly away from the floor. Big step back with that right foot. And landing in your twisted lunge. Find the hug through the inner lines of the legs. Heart reaching forward, palms pressing together, turning your heart up towards your hands. Good. Stay really steady by hugging the inner lines of the legs towards center and slowly unwind. Turn your chest towards the front of your mat, arms reaching up alongside your ears. And then exhaling to settle into warrior two, arms out, shoulder height. You sit the hips nice and low. And taking a few breaths here. Again, adjusting the feet so that you feel this comfortable wide space across the front of your pelvis. Maybe some length through the inner line of your left thigh here. A little bit of a break from all of that squeezing towards center. But still look for the hug in the low belly that allows you to give buoyancy to the ribs. And then we'll straighten the left leg. Inhale to reach your left arm as far forward as you're able. Exhale, left arm down, right arm up, moving into triangle pose. And sending your hips back, reaching your ribs forward. See if you can stretch out the sides of the waist. Look for length in your belly. Roll your right side ribs open. Breathe into whatever spaces of the shape feel closed, so that this shape becomes a container for more freedom in your body, more freedom in your breath. And pressing down through the feet, we'll inhale to come back up towards standing. Exhale, bending the left knee, warrior two. Inhale, reverse warrior, the left arm sweeps back. Exhale, windmilling the hands to the floor. Stepping back to plank and finding your own path to downward dog. And then inhaling to reach your left leg up and back. Exhale, draw the knee towards the right armpit, and then send that left leg out to the right. So we're rooting the outer edge of the left foot. Settle to the inner edge of your right foot. Reach your right arm up towards the ceiling. And then lift your hips up really high. See if you can root down through your left finger pads to give yourself a little bit more support. As the hips reach up, you can stretch your right arm forward, your right arm forward alongside your right ear. Breathe into the length of the right side body. And then we'll spill that right hand back to the floor. Tuck your right toes under. Hug in through the belly. Pick your left thigh up into your chest. Step your left foot towards your hands. Right foot flat to the floor. Inhaling to come up to warrior one. Now as you're exhaling, shifting your weight into your left foot. Moving into warrior three. Drawing up through the inner line of your right leg, rooting down through the base of your big toe mound in the left foot. Draw in through the belly. Take your heart farther forward. And then find some softness in your left knee, slowly coming up towards a stand, hugging your right knee up into your chest, and then climbing that right thigh over the left. So moving in towards eagle pose. Maybe you're hooking your foot around the back of your calf if that's available. And bring your arms forward, shoulder height. We'll wrap the left arm over the right, bending the elbows, either palms together, backs of the hands together, or maybe just hands to your shoulders. And seeing if you can hug into the center line through your legs, through your core. Maybe you can sit your hips a little bit deeper. Keep your heart lifted, still feeling how you're able to create space, even with all of this hugging through the center line of the body. So our ability to find balance and to find containment doesn't negate our ability to also grow and expand and be buoyant and free. And slowly unwinding as you come up to standing, both feet to the floor, hands to the center of the chest. And just for a moment here, you can find a settling quality through both of your feet. Enjoy standing on both of your feet. Maybe look for a little bit more lift in the ribs, wide space across the shoulders. Next inhale, reaching your arms up tall alongside your ears. Exhale, folding forward, bringing your hands to the floor. Inhaling halfway up, reaching your ribs forward. Exhale, softening down, stepping your feet back or maybe hopping your feet back, moving with your own path, finding once more your way to downward dog, using your breath to guide you. And then we'll exhale to bring the knees down to the floor. And you can take your hips to your heels for a moment, settling into child's pose. So tops of the feet rooting, the big toes touch. Your knees can be wide or together, whatever you like. You might have your arms forward, or you might bring your hands back by your sides. And just let your shoulders be soft here. Let the torso settle in towards the thighs or between the thighs, folding into your hip creases, into your knee creases. Just beginning to remember the weight of your body, your body's connection to the earth. And then inhaling to come back up to a seat on your heels. We'll take the hips off to one side, swing the legs forward. You can bring the feet in front of you, so the soles of the feet plant and the feet about hip width apart. And then take your hands behind you so that your fingers point in towards your hips. And the hands are, let's say, wider than hip width apart, just a little bit wider than your hips. Good. So we'll press down through the hands, press down through the feet. As you inhale, you can come up into a tabletop, lifting your hips as high as your knees. If it's comfortable, as you exhale, you might let your head drop back. And we'll breathe here, lifting the hips, lifting the heart as you inhale. Exhale, sighing it out through your mouth. Do that twice more. I'm going to inhale, get tall up through the hips, lift the heart, stretch out the front body. Exhale, sigh. Again, inhale to lift. And exhale, let it all out through your mouth. Inhale to gather the chin back up towards your chest. And now as you exhale, settle the hips, but don't bring them all the way down. See if you can pull your hips back between your arms. So your legs begin to straighten, you're onto your heels, the hips may be a little bit above the floor, or maybe we're just imagining space between the hips and the floor. And we're gonna inhale to come forward again. The knees go forward over the ankles, hips up, heart up, lean your head back if it's comfortable. And then with your next exhale, drawing your hips down and back through your arms, so curling into the belly. See if you can get the legs straight as the hips pull back. Yes, and then one more time, inhaling to come forward, lifting the hips, lengthening out the belly. Maybe the head drops back as you exhale. Good. And then chin to chest. Next exhale, sweeping the hips back. This time we're gonna set them down to the floor. Thank God. Good. And then from here, you can make sure you're in the middle of your mat and slowly roll your way down onto your back. Great. So we'll again bring the soles of the feet to the floor, the feet about hip width apart. And this time just looking for a pure stretching out of the front body. You can press down through your feet, coming into a bridge pose, lifting your hips. You can bring your hands underneath you, maybe interlacing the fingers if that works. Snuggling your shoulder blades in towards each other. Keep pressing down through the feet, pressing down through the backs of your arms. Send your hips up high. Reach your tailbone towards your knees and stretch your chest towards your chin. And then breathe space into that whole front line of your body, your chest, your belly, the fronts of your hips, the tops of your thighs. Seeing if we can flush out all of the areas that we've been folding into and engaging. Still maybe a little bit of help from the inner line of the legs here just to keep the space at the back of the pelvis safe. But otherwise, the belly as long and as wide open as possible. Yeah, and then releasing your hands, you can slowly ease your hips back towards the floor. For a moment, wiggle your feet out wide and let the knees fall in towards each other. You might place your hands to your belly here to feel warmth from your belly or your hands spreading outwards. Good. And then we'll wiggle the feet in together so that the soles of the feet kiss as the knees fall out to the sides. And you might keep your hands to your belly, or hand to belly, hand to heart, or maybe hands to your inner thighs if that's what you like, whatever works for you. So seeing now if we can find a softening quality through the inner lines of the legs. And we can keep the belly relatively relaxed here, but we'll still feel as you exhale that there's that natural drawing in of the belly. And that gives us a little bit of stability, a little bit of allowance to let go of the thigh bones even more. Just let the thigh bones be heavy in the hip sockets so that the knees might travel slowly, more closely towards the floor. Relax your shoulders, relax your face. And then gathering your thighs back into center. And then knees in towards the chest so that we can once more wrap the arms or the hands around the shins, rock a little bit side to side. And then releasing your legs and finding your way into Shavasana. So you could, again, have your legs straight out, or maybe bringing the soles of the feet to the floor, keeping the knees bent, and especially if you feel any discomfort in your low back, finding at least some bend in your knees. And let the arms soften by your sides. I would recommend having the palms facing up and the thumbs rolling away from center, so the inner lines of the arms can relax. The inner lines of the legs here are relaxed. Belly completely soft. Just like a warm, gooey sensation in your belly. And let all of that light and all of that energy that you've created travel from the belly to every other part of your body. For a moment here, we might consider the color yellow, like you're bathing in the color yellow. We feel yellow radiating from the center body, yellow like the sun, yellow like a lamp, yellow like the dust of pollen on a bee's tiny feet, which is the source of so much life. Just for a moment again, soaking in that quality of yellow. And then we let the light go out. Let all of that color and warmth spill outwards. And see if you can settle into something that is more like darkness. Something that is more like standing in the mystery of the universe and knowing that you are powerless. That you are so small. And that's okay. Maybe that's even comforting. That we are just tiny little specks in the space of infinity. Which means we are part of something that is so much bigger and so much more magical than each of us as individuals might be. Just rest here for another minute or so. And then you can slowly begin to invite conscious breath back into your body. Begin to feel the borders and the boundaries of your own skin and everything that is contained within those borders. Waking up your fingers, your toes. And then inhaling to reach your arms up alongside your ears. Take a nice long stretch. And as you exhale, you can bend the knees, rolling onto your right side. And then finding your way slowly up to a seat. Seems to arrive at a comfortable seat, cross-legged or whatever works for you. You can sit up nice and tall, closing your eyes, letting the hips settle towards the earth. Maybe here, taking your hands to your belly and just feeling with all of your tactile sense the warmth, the power, the light that you have at your own center. And just for a moment, knowing that you can do something with that power. And then bringing your hands together at the center of your chest. Thank yourself for your practice. Thank you. Namaste.